Welcome to Knowitrix, where curiosity becomes clarity. Here, complex ideas are decoded, trending topics are explored, and the hidden patterns of our world are revealed through cinematic storytelling. From the science behind viral moments to the future of technology, from human psychology to global events, every episode transforms everyday questions into powerful insights. If you love learning, thinking deeper, and understanding the world in a smarter way, you're in the right place. Welcome to the matrix of modern knowledge. Welcome to Knowitrix. Imagine this. You're sitting in a cafe, sipping your coffee, scrolling through your phone. The Wi-Fi is free, the atmosphere is calm, and everything feels normal. But what you don't see is the invisible battlefield unfolding around you. Every swipe, every tap, every message, every login is traveling through a vast digital universe, one filled with rules, machines, cables, routers, servers, and millions of tiny data fragments racing across the planet at the speed of light. And somewhere in that same cafe, someone else might be quietly watching the network, waiting for a moment of weakness, a misconfigured device, or a careless click. This is the real internet, not the apps you see, not the websites you visit, but the machinery underneath, the hidden infrastructure that makes everything work. And understanding this machinery is the first step to understanding cybersecurity, because you cannot protect what you do not understand. Today, in this module, we're going to peel back the layers of the internet. We're going to explore how your data travels, how devices talk to each other, how websites magically appear on your screen, and why attackers target these systems. And we're going to do it in a way that feels like watching a movie, clear, visual, and unforgettable. Before we dive into IP addresses, DNS, servers, packets, and attacks, let's start with a simple truth. The internet is not a cloud. It's not magic. It's not wireless air. It's a giant network of machines physically connected across the world. To understand this, imagine the internet as a massive global postal system. Every device, your phone, your laptop, your smart TV, is like a house with a unique address. Every message you send is like a letter. Every website you visit is like a destination building somewhere on Earth. And every piece of data you transmit must travel through roads, checkpoints, sorting centers, and delivery routes before it reaches its destination. This is where the concept of IP addresses begins. But before we get there, let's zoom out even further. Think of the internet as a huge city. Not a city with buildings, but a city with networks. Your home Wi-Fi is one network. Your office network is another. Your mobile network is another. And all these networks are connected to bigger networks. Your ISP, your telecom provider, your data center, your cloud service. These bigger networks connect to even bigger networks, forming a global mesh. This mesh is not random. It's structured, layered, and governed by rules. And these rules ensure that when you type google.com, your request doesn't accidentally go to a server in Brazil or a printer in your office. Instead, it goes exactly where it needs to go. To make this happen, the internet relies on four fundamental building blocks: IP addresses, the unique identifiers of every device; DNS, the internet's phone book that translates names into addresses; servers, the machines that store websites, apps, and data; packets, the tiny fragments of information that carry your data across the world. These four components work together like organs in a living body. If one fails, the entire system can collapse. And attackers know this. That's why cyberattacks often target these foundational elements, because breaking the foundation is easier than breaking the walls built on top of it. Before we explore each component in detail, let's understand why this knowledge matters for cybersecurity. Why cybersecurity starts with understanding the internet. Most people think cyberattacks happen because hackers are smart, or because systems are weak. But the truth is more nuanced. Attacks happen because the internet was never designed to be secure. It was designed to be open, fast, and interconnected. Security was added later, like locks added to a house that was originally built without doors. This means every part of the internet, from IP addresses to DNS to servers, has vulnerabilities. And attackers exploit these vulnerabilities, not because they are magical geniuses, but because they understand the system better than the average user. For example, if you understand IP addresses, you understand how attackers scan networks. If you understand DNS, you understand how phishing and spoofing work. If you understand servers, you understand how websites get hacked. If you understand packets, you understand how data can be intercepted or manipulated. Cybersecurity is not about memorizing tools. It's about understanding how the digital world functions so you can see where the cracks are. A real-world example, the cafe attack. Let's return to the cafe. You connect to the Wi-Fi, you open Instagram, you log in. Everything feels normal. But what you don't know is that the attacker sitting 2 tables away has set up a fake Wi-Fi network with a name almost identical to the cafe's real network. When you connect, your data flows through his laptop first. He sees your device's IP address. He sees the DNS requests you make. He sees the packets traveling back and forth. And if the website you visit is not properly encrypted, he can read everything: your username, your password, your messages. This attack is not advanced. It doesn't require expensive tools. It doesn't require genius-level skills. It only requires one thing: understanding how the internet works. And that's exactly what you're going to learn in this module. Part 2. IP addresses. The digital home address of every device. If the internet were a massive global city, then every device connected to it, your phone, laptop, smartwatch, CCTV camera, office printer, even your smart refrigerator, would need a unique home address. Without this address, nothing would know where to send information. Your messages wouldn't reach their destination, websites wouldn't load, apps wouldn't function, and the entire digital world would collapse into chaos. This unique home address is called an IP address, short for Internet Protocol Address. It is the fundamental identity of every device on the internet, and understanding it is the first step toward understanding how cyberattacks begin. To visualize this, imagine you want to send a letter to a friend. You write their name, but without a house number, street name, city, or postal code. The postal service has no idea where to deliver it. The letter will wander aimlessly or be returned to you. The internet works the same way. Every piece of data you send must know exactly where it's going, and that destination is defined by an IP address. The 2 types of IP addresses, public and private. To make this concept clearer, imagine your home. Inside your home, every room has its own identity. The kitchen is different from the bedroom, which is different from the living room. But from the outside world, your home has only one address. The internet works exactly like this. Your public IP address is like your home's main address. It is assigned by your internet service provider and is visible to the outside world. When you visit a website, the website sees your public IP. When you stream a movie, the streaming service sees your public IP. When an attacker scans the internet for vulnerable devices, they scan public IPs. Inside your home network, however, every device has its own private IP address. Your phone might be 192.168.1.5. Your laptop might be 192.168.1.7. Your smart TV might be 192.168.1.10. These private IPs are not visible to the outside world. They are used only inside your local network, like room numbers inside your house. This separation is crucial for security. If every device had a public IP, attackers could directly target your phone or laptop. But because private IPs are hidden behind a router, attackers must first break through the router before reaching your internal devices. IPv4 and IPv6, the old and the new. The original version of IP addresses, called IPv4, was created in the early days of the Internet. It uses a 32-bit format, which allows for around 4.3 billion unique addresses. At the time, this seemed like more than enough. Nobody imagined a future where every home would have dozens of Internet-connected devices. But today, with billions of smartphones, laptops, IoT devices, sensors, and servers, IPv4 addresses are running out. This led to the creation of IPv6, a newer version that uses a 128-bit format. This allows for an almost unimaginable number of addresses, enough to give every grain of sand on Earth its own IP address. IPv6 is slowly replacing IPv4, but the transition is gradual. Many networks still rely on IPv4, and attackers often exploit this older system because it has more predictable patterns and more legacy vulnerabilities. How IP addresses enable communication. To understand how IP addresses enable communication, imagine you're sending a parcel. You write the destination address on the box. You also write your own address as the return address. When the parcel reaches the sorting center, machines read the address and route it to the correct city, then the correct neighborhood, then the correct street, and finally, the correct house. The Internet follows the same logic. When you send a request to a website, your device includes two IP addresses: the destination IP, the website server, and your own IP, so the server knows where to send the response. Routers along the way read these addresses and forward your data to the next hop, like postal trucks moving parcels from one sorting center to another. This process happens millions of times per second, invisibly and flawlessly, unless someone interferes. How attackers use IP addresses. Attackers rely heavily on IP addresses to find targets. They use automated tools that scan millions of public IPs, looking for open ports, outdated software, misconfigured firewalls, or exposed services. This process is called network scanning, and it is the digital equivalent of a burglar walking down a street, checking which houses have unlocked doors. If your public IP exposes a vulnerable service, like an old FTP server, an unpatched router, or a misconfigured camera, an attacker can break in without ever touching your private network. This is why companies invest heavily in firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and network segmentation. They want to ensure that even if an attacker finds their public IP, they cannot easily reach internal systems. One of the most famous examples of IP-based attacks is the Mirai botnet. In 2016, attackers scanned the internet for devices with default usernames and passwords, things like admin or root 12345. They found millions of vulnerable IoT devices, cameras, DVRs, routers, baby monitors. These devices had public IPs and weak security. The attackers infected them with malware, turning them into a massive army of bots. This botnet launched one of the largest DDoS attacks in history, taking down major websites like Twitter, Netflix, and Reddit. The attack didn't target the websites directly. It targeted the infrastructure behind them, overwhelming servers with traffic from millions of infected IPs. This attack was possible because people didn't understand the importance of securing devices with public IP addresses. A simple password change could have prevented the entire disaster. Understanding IP addresses helps you understand how attackers find targets, how data travels across networks, how firewalls block unwanted traffic, how VPNs hide your identity, how companies isolate sensitive systems, how cybercriminals mask their location. When you know how IP addresses work, you begin to see the internet not as a magical cloud, but as a structured system with predictable pathways. And once you understand the pathways, you can protect them. Part 3. DNS, the Internet's phone book, and one of the most targeted systems in cybersecurity. When you type google.com into your browser, something almost magical happens. Within a fraction of a second, the website appears on your screen. You don't think about where the website is hosted. You don't think about which server it lives on. You don't think about the physical location of the data center. You simply type a name and the internet finds the right destination instantly. But behind this simplicity lies one of the most important and most vulnerable systems in the entire digital world, DNS, or Domain Name System. To understand DNS, imagine you're in a massive city with millions of buildings. You know the name of the restaurant you want to visit, but you don't know its address. You can't walk around aimlessly hoping to find it. You need a directory, a phone book, that tells you exactly where it is. DNS is that directory for the internet. It translates human-friendly names like google.com into machine-friendly IP addresses like 142.250.190.78. Without DNS, the internet would be unusable. You would have to memorize long strings of numbers for every website you visit. Imagine remembering the IP address of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, your bank, your email provider, your office VPN, and every other service you use. It would be impossible. DNS solves this problem by acting as the internet's universal translator. To understand DNS, let's follow the journey of a simple request. You open your browser and type amazon.com. The moment you press enter, your device begins a multi-step process that happens so quickly you never notice it. First, your device checks its local cache. If you've visited the website recently, your device might already know the IP address. If not, it sends a DNS query to your configured DNS resolver, usually your ISP, Google DNS, Cloudflare DNS, or your company's internal DNS server. The resolver then begins searching for the correct IP address. It may check its own cache. If it doesn't have the answer, it contacts the root DNS servers, the highest level of the DNS hierarchy. These servers don't know the IP address of Amazon.com, but they know where to find the next level, the .com top-level domain servers. The resolver then contacts the .com servers. These servers don't know the exact IP either, but they know which authoritative DNS server is responsible for Amazon.com. Finally, the resolver contacts Amazon's authoritative DNS server, which returns the correct IP address. This entire process, checking caches, contacting root servers, querying top-level domains, and reaching authoritative servers, happens in milliseconds. And once your device receives the IP address, it can finally send your request to the correct server. DNS is one of the most attacked systems on the internet for a simple reason. If you control DNS, you control where people go. It's like controlling the signboards in a city. If you change the signboard for a bank, people will walk into the wrong building without realizing it. Attackers exploit this by manipulating DNS records, poisoning caches, hijacking domains, or redirecting traffic to malicious servers. One of the most common attacks is DNS spoofing, also known as DNS poisoning. In this attack, the attacker injects false DNS information into a resolver's cache. When users try to visit a legitimate website, they are silently redirected to a fake one controlled by the attacker. This fake website may look identical to the real one, but it steals credentials, installs malware, or captures sensitive data. Another dangerous attack is DNS hijacking, where attackers gain control of a domain's DNS settings. This often happens when domain registrars are compromised or when administrators use weak passwords. Once attackers control the DNS records, they can redirect all traffic to malicious servers, intercept emails, or disrupt business operations. In 2019, Cybersecurity researchers uncovered a massive global DNS hijacking campaign that targeted government agencies, telecom companies, and critical infrastructure providers. Attackers gained access to domain registrars and modified DNS records to redirect traffic to malicious servers. These servers captured login credentials, intercepted emails, and allowed attackers to infiltrate internal networks. The attack was sophisticated, not because of advanced malware, but because the attackers understood how DNS works. They exploited weak passwords, outdated registrar systems, and poor DNS security practices. The result was a global espionage campaign that went undetected for months. DNS is not just a technical system, it is a foundational trust mechanism. When DNS is compromised, everything built on top of it becomes vulnerable. This is why companies invest heavily in DNS security, using techniques like DNSSEC, DNS filtering, and secure resolvers. DNSSEC, or DNS security extensions, adds cryptographic signatures to DNS records. This ensures that DNS responses cannot be tampered with. It's like sealing an envelope with a tamper-proof stamp. If someone tries to alter the contents, the signature breaks, and the system knows something is wrong. DNS filtering is another powerful technique. It blocks access to known malicious domains, preventing users from accidentally visiting phishing sites or malware servers. Many companies use DNS filtering as the first line of defense because it stops threats before they reach the network. Understanding DNS helps cybersecurity professionals detect and prevent attacks. For example, unusual DNS queries may indicate malware communicating with command and control servers. Sudden changes in DNS records may signal a hijacking attempt. High volumes of DNS traffic may indicate a DDoS attack targeting DNS infrastructure. DNS logs are often the first place investigators look when analyzing breaches. They reveal patterns, anomalies, and connections that attackers try to hide. DNS attacks succeed not because DNS is weak, but because humans make mistakes. Administrators forget to enable DNS SEC. Companies use outdated registrars. Users fall for phishing emails that steal domain credentials. Attackers exploit these weaknesses because they know DNS is the backbone of the internet, and when the backbone breaks, everything collapses. If the internet were a living organism, then servers would be its beating heart. They are the machines that store websites, run applications, process data, authenticate users, manage databases, and deliver content to billions of people every second. Every time you watch a YouTube video, send a WhatsApp message, check your bank balance, or order food online, a server somewhere in the world is working behind the scenes to make it happen. But servers are not magical. They are physical machines, real computers sitting in real buildings, connected by real cables, powered by real electricity, cooled by real air conditioning systems. They can be touched, damaged, hacked, overloaded, misconfigured, or destroyed. And because they hold valuable data and run critical services, they are among the most targeted assets in cybersecurity. To understand servers, imagine a massive library. This library stores millions of books, documents, and records. When you walk in and request a book, a librarian retrieves it for you. Servers work the same way. They store information and deliver it when requested. But unlike a library, servers operate at unimaginable speed, handling thousands or millions of requests simultaneously. What exactly is a server? A server is simply a computer designed to provide services to other computers. It could be a small machine in a company's office, a powerful rack-mounted system in a data center, or a virtual machine running in the cloud. What makes it a server is not its size or shape, but its purpose: to serve data, applications, or resources to clients. Servers come in many forms. A web server delivers websites. A database server stores structured information. A mail server handles emails. An authentication server verifies identities. A file server stores documents. A cloud server hosts applications. Each type of server plays a specific role in the digital ecosystem, and attackers often target these roles to exploit weaknesses. To understand how servers deliver content, imagine you're ordering food from a restaurant. You place your order. The restaurant receives it, prepares the food, and sends it back to you. Servers follow a similar process. When you type a website address, your device sends a request to the server hosting that website. The server receives the request, processes it, retrieves the necessary files, and sends them back to your device. This process happens through protocols like HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP is like an open conversation. Anyone listening can hear what's being said. HTTPS is like a private conversation, encrypted and secure. Modern servers almost always use HTTPS because attackers can easily intercept unencrypted traffic. Servers are attractive targets for attackers because they store valuable data and run critical services. If an attacker gains access to a server, they can steal information, modify content, disrupt operations, or use the server as a launching point for further attacks. One of the most common attack methods is exploiting vulnerabilities in server software. Servers run operating systems, web frameworks, databases, and applications. If any of these components are outdated or misconfigured, attackers can exploit them. This is why patch management is one of the most important responsibilities in cybersecurity. A single unpatched vulnerability can lead to catastrophic breaches. Another common attack is credential theft. If attackers obtain the username and password of a server administrator, they can log in and take full control. This often happens through phishing, weak passwords, or reused credentials. Once inside, attackers can install malware, create backdoors, or exfiltrate data. A real-world case study, the Equifax breach, one of the most infamous server breaches in history, occurred in 2017 when Equifax, a major credit reporting agency, was hacked. Attackers exploited a known vulnerability in a web application framework called Apache Struts. The vulnerability had been publicly disclosed and a patch was available, but Equifax failed to apply the patch in time. Attackers used this vulnerability to gain access to Equifax's servers. Once inside, they moved laterally across the network, accessing databases containing sensitive information. The breach exposed the personal data of over 147 million people, including social security numbers, birth dates, and addresses. This attack was not sophisticated. It did not require advanced malware or zero-day exploits. It succeeded because of one simple mistake. A server was left unpatched. Protecting servers requires a combination of technical controls, best practices, and continuous monitoring. Firewalls restrict access to only necessary ports. Intrusion detection systems monitor for suspicious activity. Access controls ensure that only authorized users can log in. Encryption protects data in transit and at rest. Regular patching closes vulnerabilities. Network segmentation isolates critical servers from less secure systems. Companies also use tools like vulnerability scanners to identify weaknesses, configuration management systems to enforce security policies, and SIEM platforms to analyze logs and detect anomalies. These tools help administrators maintain visibility and control over their server environments. Despite all the technology, the biggest risk to servers is human error. Misconfigured firewalls, weak passwords, forgotten test servers, exposed databases, and unpatched systems are common causes of breaches. Attackers know this. They don't always need to break through strong defenses. Sometimes they just need to find the one server that was accidentally left open. This is why cybersecurity training is essential for IT teams. Understanding how servers work, how they communicate, and how they can be attacked helps administrators avoid mistakes and respond quickly to threats. Servers are the backbone of the internet. If you understand how they work, you understand how websites are hosted, how applications run, how data is stored, and how attackers exploit weaknesses. This knowledge allows you to design secure architectures, detect intrusions, and respond to incidents effectively. Servers are not just machines, they are the foundation of the digital world, and protecting them is one of the most important responsibilities in cybersecurity. If IP addresses are the homes of the internet, and DNS is the phone book, and servers are the buildings where information lives, then packets are the tiny messengers that carry your data from one place to another. They are the microscopic couriers of the digital world, racing across cables, routers, satellites, and data centers every millisecond. Without packets, nothing would move. No message would be delivered. No website would load. No video would stream. The internet would be a silent, empty shell. To understand packets, imagine sending a long letter to a friend, but instead of sending the letter as one big envelope, you cut it into hundreds of small pieces. Each piece is placed in its own tiny envelope, labeled with the destination address, the return address, and a sequence number, so your friend can reassemble the letter in the correct order. These envelopes travel through different routes, some by road, some by air, some by train, but eventually they all reach your friend, who puts them back together to read the full message. This is exactly how packets work. When you send data, whether it's a photo, a video, a message, or a web page, your device breaks it into small chunks called packets. Each packet contains not only a piece of the data, but also important information about where it's going, where it came from, and how it should be reassembled. The internet was designed to be resilient. Breaking data into packets ensures that even if one route is congested or damaged, packets can take alternative paths. This makes the internet fast, flexible, and fault-tolerant. If one packet is lost, only that packet needs to be resent, not the entire file. This design allows billions of devices to communicate efficiently, even under heavy load. Packets also allow multiple users to share the same network. Imagine a highway where cars represent packets. Even if thousands of cars are traveling at the same time, the highway can handle the traffic because each car is small and independent. If the highway were restricted to large trucks carrying entire files, traffic would collapse instantly. A packet is not just a piece of data. It contains several layers of information, each serving a specific purpose. The most important parts are the header and the payload. The header contains metadata, like the destination IP, source IP, protocol type, and sequence number. The payload contains the actual data being transmitted. Think of the header as the envelope and the payload as the letter inside. The envelope tells the postal system where to deliver the letter, while the letter contains the actual message. Attackers often target packet headers because they reveal valuable information about the network, such as which devices are communicating, which ports are open, and which protocols are being used. When you send a packet, it doesn't travel in a straight line. It hops from one router to another, like a traveler moving through airports. Each router examines the packet's header and decides the best next hop. This process continues until the packet reaches its destination. This journey is dynamic. If a router is overloaded, the packet may be rerouted. If a cable is damaged, the packet may take a different path. This flexibility is what makes the internet robust, but it also creates opportunities for attackers to intercept or manipulate packets. One of the most common attacks involving packets is packet sniffing. In this attack, an attacker uses a tool to capture packets traveling across a network. If the network is unencrypted, like many public Wi-Fi networks, the attacker can read the contents of the packets. This means they can see usernames, passwords, messages, and other sensitive information. To visualize this, imagine you're in a cafe using public Wi-Fi. You send a login request to a website. Your device breaks the request into packets and sends them through the network. If the network is not encrypted, the attacker sitting nearby can capture those packets and read them. It's like someone intercepting your envelopes before they reach the post office. Another dangerous attack is man-in-the-middle, MITM. In this attack, the attacker positions themselves between your device and the server. They intercept packets, modify them, and forward them without your knowledge. This allows them to steal credentials, inject malware, or manipulate data. MITM attacks often occur on unsecured networks or when attackers exploit vulnerabilities in routers or DNS systems. A real-world case study, the Firesheep incident. In 2010, a tool called Firesheep exposed the dangers of packet interception. Firesheep allowed anyone on a public Wi-Fi network to capture session cookies from websites like Facebook and Twitter. These cookies allowed attackers to hijack user accounts without needing passwords. The attack was shockingly simple. Users connected to public Wi-Fi logged into their accounts, and Firesheep captured the packets containing their session cookies. This incident forced major websites to adopt HTTPS encryption for all pages, not just login pages. It was a turning point in internet security, demonstrating how vulnerable packets can be when not properly protected. The most effective way to protect packets is through encryption. HTTPS encrypts packets so that even if attackers capture them, they cannot read the contents. VPNs add an additional layer of encryption, creating a secure tunnel for your packets. Modern networks also use techniques like TLS, IPsec, and WPA3 to protect data in transit. Firewalls and intrusion detection systems monitor packet traffic for suspicious patterns. For example, if a device suddenly sends thousands of packets to random IP addresses, it may indicate a malware infection. Packet analysis tools help administrators identify anomalies, detect attacks, and troubleshoot network issues. Understanding packets is essential for cybersecurity professionals. Packets reveal how data flows, how attacks occur, and how defenses operate. Packet analysis is a core skill in incident response, penetration testing, and network forensics. It allows professionals to trace attacks, identify vulnerabilities, and understand the behavior of malware. Packets are the lifeblood of the internet, and like blood in a human body, they can carry both nutrients and infections. Knowing how to analyze them is like knowing how to diagnose diseases. Part 6. Why attacks happen. The hidden forces driving cybercrime. To truly understand cybersecurity, you must understand the enemy. Not just their tools, not just their techniques, but their motives, their psychology, their incentives, and the invisible forces that push them into the world of cybercrime. Because cyberattacks don't happen randomly. They happen because someone, somewhere, has something to gain. When most people imagine a hacker, they picture a hooded figure typing furiously in a dark room. But the real world is far more complex. Hackers come in many forms: criminals, activists, insiders, nation-states, thrill-seekers, disgruntled employees, and even automated bots that attack without human involvement. Each has different motivations, different goals, and different methods. To understand why attacks happen, imagine the internet as a massive city filled with houses, banks, shops, offices, and public spaces. Some buildings are well protected with guards, alarms, and cameras. Others are poorly secured with unlocked doors and open windows. Criminals don't attack because they enjoy breaking in. They attack because the opportunity exists, the reward is high, and the risk is low. Cybercrime follows the same logic. The first motive, money. the fuel of modern cybercrime. The vast majority of cyberattacks today are driven by financial gain. Cybercriminals are not hobbyists. They are business people operating in a global underground economy worth billions of dollars. They steal data, sell access, deploy ransomware, run scams, and operate botnets because it pays extremely well. To understand this, imagine a criminal who wants to rob a bank. In the physical world, robbing a bank is dangerous. There are guards, alarms, cameras, and police. But in the digital world, a hacker can steal millions of dollars without ever leaving their bedroom. They can target banks, cryptocurrency exchanges, e-commerce platforms, or even individuals. They can steal credit card numbers, banking credentials, or personal data and sell them on dark web marketplaces. Ransomware is one of the most profitable forms of cybercrime. Attackers encrypt a company's data and demand payment to restore access. Many companies pay because the cost of downtime is higher than the ransom. This creates a vicious cycle where attackers become richer and more motivated. The second motive, power, nation-state attacks, and cyber warfare. Some attacks are not about money. They are about power, influence, and geopolitical advantage. Nation-states use cyber attacks to spy on rivals, disrupt critical infrastructure, steal intellectual property, and influence political outcomes. These attacks are highly sophisticated, well-funded, and often undetectable for long periods. To understand this, imagine two countries competing for dominance. Instead of sending soldiers, they send malware. Instead of bombing power plants, they hack them. Instead of stealing physical documents, they steal digital secrets. Cyber warfare is silent, invisible, and deniable. It allows nations to strike without triggering traditional war. A famous example is the Stuxnet attack, where malware was used to sabotage nuclear facilities. This attack demonstrated that cyber weapons can cause physical damage, not just digital disruption. It changed the world's understanding of cyber warfare forever. Not all attackers come from outside, some come from within. Disgruntled employees, former staff, contractors, or partners may attack a company out of anger, frustration, or a desire for revenge. These insiders are dangerous because they already know the systems, the passwords, the weaknesses, and the blind spots. To visualize this, imagine a security guard who knows exactly where the cameras are, where the alarms are disabled, and where the keys are kept. If that guard decides to betray the company, the damage can be catastrophic. Insider attacks often involve data theft, sabotage, or leaking confidential information. The fourth motive, curiosity, the thrill of breaking in. Some attackers are not motivated by money or revenge. They are motivated by curiosity, challenge, and the thrill of breaking into systems. These individuals often start young, experimenting with networks, bypassing restrictions, and exploring vulnerabilities. Some eventually become ethical hackers, working to protect systems. Others drift into criminal activity. To understand this mindset, imagine a locked door with a sign that says, "Do not enter." For some people, that sign is an invitation. They want to know what's behind the door. They want to test their skills. They want to prove they can do what others cannot. The fifth motive, ideology, hacktivism, and digital protest. Some attacks are driven by ideology. Hacktivists target governments, corporations, or organizations they believe are unethical. They deface websites, leak documents, or disrupt services to send a message. These attacks are often symbolic, designed to attract attention rather than cause financial damage. To visualize this, imagine protesters marching in the streets. Hacktivists do the same thing, but in the digital world. Their goal is not theft but awareness. They want to expose wrongdoing, challenge authority, or support a cause. The sixth motive, opportunity, automated attacks and bots. Not all attacks are personal. Many are automated. Bots scan the internet 24/7, looking for vulnerable systems. They don't care who you are or what you do. If your system is exposed, they attack. These bots are like digital termites, constantly probing for weaknesses. To understand this, imagine a burglar who doesn't target specific houses, but walks down a street checking every door. If a door is unlocked, they enter. If it's locked, they move on. Automated attacks follow the same logic. They exploit weak passwords, outdated software, open ports, and misconfigured servers. Cybercrime is profitable because the cost of launching an attack is low, the potential reward is high, and the risk of getting caught is minimal. Attackers can buy malware, exploit kits, stolen credentials, and botnet access on the dark web. They can operate anonymously, using VPNs, proxies, and encrypted communication. They can attack victims across the world without ever being physically present. This creates a perfect storm where cybercrime becomes a global industry. Understanding why attacks happen helps cybersecurity professionals predict threats, design defenses, and respond effectively. If you know attackers are motivated by money, you focus on protecting financial systems. If you know insiders pose a risk, you strengthen access controls. If you know nation-states are involved, you invest in advanced threat detection. Cybersecurity is not just about technology. It is about understanding human behavior, psychology, and incentives. Because behind every attack, there is a human decision. To truly understand cybersecurity, you must see how all the pieces you've learned, IP addresses, DNS, servers, packets, and attacker motives, come together in the real world. Cyberattacks are not random explosions of chaos. They are structured, methodical, and often beautifully orchestrated sequences of steps. Every attack, whether simple or advanced, follows a predictable life cycle. And once you understand this life cycle, you begin to see the digital world with new eyes. Imagine a thief planning a robbery. They don't simply walk into a building and start stealing. They study the target. They observe patterns. They identify weaknesses. They plan their entry. They execute the attack. And they escape without leaving a trace. Cyberattacks follow the same logic, but on a digital battlefield. Let's walk through a complete cyberattack from start to finish. Not a theoretical one, but a realistic scenario that happens every day across the world. This will help you understand how attackers think, how systems fail, and how defenders can intervene. Every attack begins with reconnaissance. This is the stage where attackers gather information about the target. They scan IP addresses, map networks, identify open ports, analyze DNS records, and search for exposed servers. They look for outdated software, weak configurations, and forgotten systems. To visualize this, imagine a burglar walking through a neighborhood at night, quietly checking which houses have open windows, which doors are unlocked, and which homes have no security cameras. They don't break in yet, they simply observe. In the digital world, attackers use tools like Nmap, Shodan, and MassScan to scan millions of IPs. They look for patterns, an old version of Apache, an exposed database, a misconfigured firewall. They gather everything silently, without triggering alarms. This stage is crucial because attackers want to minimize risk. They don't attack blindly. They attack where the probability of success is highest. Stage 2. Enumeration, digging deeper into the target. Once attackers identify potential weaknesses, they begin enumeration. This is where they gather detailed information about specific systems. They probe servers to identify software versions, user accounts, directory structures, and running services. They analyze DNS records to find subdomains. They inspect SSL certificates to identify internal systems. Think of this as the burglar approaching a specific house they've chosen. They check the windows more closely. They examine the locks. They look for hidden entrances. They observe the homeowner's routine. They gather every detail that will help them break in. In the digital world, enumeration reveals the exact attack path. For example, if a server is running an outdated version of WordPress, attackers know which vulnerabilities to exploit. If a DNS record reveals a forgotten admin portal, attackers know where to focus. Stage 3. Initial access, the first break-in. This is the moment the attacker crosses the line. They exploit a vulnerability, steal credentials, or trick a user into clicking a malicious link. Initial access can happen in many ways. A phishing email that steals login credentials, an unpatched server vulnerability, a weak password on a remote desktop service, a misconfigured cloud bucket, a malicious file downloaded by an employee. To visualize this, imagine the burglar finding a window that wasn't locked properly. They quietly slide it open and step inside. The house is now compromised, even if the homeowner has no idea. In the digital world, initial access is often silent. No alarms go off. No alerts are triggered. The attacker is inside, and the real attack begins. Stage 4. Privilege escalation, gaining more power. Once inside, attackers rarely have full control. They may have access to a low privilege account or a limited part of the system, so they escalate privileges. They exploit misconfigurations, steal admin credentials, or abuse vulnerabilities to gain higher access. This is like the burglar finding the keys to the master bedroom or discovering the safe's combination written on a sticky note. They move from room to room, gaining more control. In the digital world, privilege escalation is one of the most dangerous stages. If attackers gain admin access, they can disable logs, create backdoors, and move freely across the network. Stage 5. Lateral movement, spreading through the network. Attackers rarely stop at one system. They move laterally, exploring the network like a thief moving from room to room. They access file servers, databases, email systems, and cloud accounts. They search for valuable data, customer records, financial information, intellectual property. Lateral movement is possible because many networks are poorly segmented. Once attackers enter one system, they can access others easily. This is why modern cybersecurity emphasizes zero-trust architecture, where every system must verify every request, even from internal devices. Stage 6. Data collection and exfiltration, stealing the treasure. Once attackers find valuable data, they collect it, compress it, encrypt it, and prepare it for exfiltration. They may send it to remote servers, cloud storage, or hidden command and control systems. They often disguise the data as normal traffic to avoid detection. Imagine the burglar filling a bag with jewelry, cash, and documents. They don't run out the front door. They sneak out quietly, leaving no trace. In the digital world, data exfiltration is often invisible. Attackers use encrypted channels, obscure protocols, or slow trickle-based transfers to avoid detection. Stage 7. Impact, the final blow. Depending on the attacker's motive, the final stage varies. Ransomware attackers encrypt systems and demand payment. Nation-state attackers sabotage infrastructure or steal secrets. Hacktivists deface websites or leak documents. Insiders delete data or disrupt operations. This is the moment the victim realizes something is wrong. Systems crash, files disappear, websites go offline, customers complain, the attack is no longer silent. Stage 8. Covering tracks, erasing evidence. Before leaving, attackers often delete logs, remove malware, disable alerts, and erase traces of their presence. They want to make forensic investigation difficult. They want to ensure the victim never fully understands what happened. This is like the burglar wiping fingerprints, closing windows, and resetting alarms before escaping. Why understanding the attack lifecycle matters. When you understand how attacks unfold, You can detect them earlier. You can disrupt them at multiple stages. You can design defenses that stop attackers before they reach critical systems. Cybersecurity is not about reacting to breaches. It is about anticipating them. Every stage of the attack lifecycle is an opportunity for defenders. Reconnaissance can be detected through unusual scanning. Enumeration can be blocked by firewalls. Initial access can be prevented with patching and training. Privilege escalation can be stopped with strong access controls. Lateral movement can be limited with segmentation. Exfiltration can be detected with monitoring. Understanding the attacker's journey is the key to stopping them. As we reach the final chapter of this module, take a moment to reflect on the journey you've just completed. You've traveled through the invisible highways of the internet, explored the machinery that powers the digital world, and uncovered the motives and methods of attackers who exploit its weaknesses. You've learned how IP addresses guide your data, how DNS translates names into destinations, how servers store and deliver information, how packets carry your messages, and how attackers weave these elements together to launch full-scale cyber attacks. This knowledge is not just technical, it's transformational, because once you understand how the internet truly works, you stop being a passive user and become an informed defender. You begin to see patterns, risks, and opportunities that others overlook. You start recognizing the signs of danger long before they become disasters. And most importantly, you gain the confidence to navigate the digital world with clarity and control. Let's bring everything together in a powerful, cohesive understanding. The internet is not a cloud floating above us. It is a living, breathing ecosystem made of machines, cables, protocols, and rules. Every device has an IP address that identifies it. Every website relies on DNS to be found. Every service depends on servers to function. Every message travels as packets across networks, and every one of these components can be attacked, manipulated, or exploited. This is why cybersecurity is not a single tool or technique. It is a mindset, a discipline, a continuous practice of understanding how systems work and how they can fail. Throughout this module, one truth has become clear. Technology alone cannot protect us. The biggest vulnerabilities are often human. Weak passwords, careless clicks, outdated systems, misconfigurations, and lack of awareness create openings that attackers exploit. But humans are also the strongest defense. A trained employee can stop a phishing attack. A vigilant administrator can detect unusual traffic. A well-informed user can avoid dangerous websites. A proactive company can patch vulnerabilities before attackers exploit them. Cybersecurity is not just about machines. It is about people making smart decisions. Cyber attacks are not rare events. They happen every second. Automated bots scan the internet continuously. Attackers exploit vulnerabilities within hours of their discovery. Ransomware gangs operate like corporations. Nation-states deploy cyber weapons. Hacktivists launch digital protests. Insiders leak data. Criminals sell stolen credentials on the dark web. This is the world we live in. A world where every device, every network, every user, and every company is a potential target. But it's also a world where knowledge is power. And you now possess the foundational knowledge needed to understand, anticipate, and defend against these threats. Now that you understand how the internet works and why attacks happen, let's translate this knowledge into practical steps that anyone can follow. Use strong, unique passwords for every account. Enable multi-factor authentication wherever possible. Avoid reusing credentials. Companies should implement role-based access control, ensuring users only have the permissions they need. Apply patches regularly. Update operating systems, applications, and firmware. Outdated software is one of the most common entry points for attackers. Use HTTPS for websites, VPNs for remote access, and encryption for sensitive data. Encryption protects packets from interception and manipulation. DNS logs reveal early signs of attacks. Unusual queries, sudden spikes, or connections to suspicious domains may indicate malware or exfiltration attempts. Separate critical systems from general networks. If attackers breach one system, segmentation prevents them from moving laterally. Human error is the root cause of many breaches. Regular training on phishing, password hygiene, and safe browsing dramatically reduces risk. Never assume internal traffic is safe. Verify every request. Authenticate every device. Monitor every connection. Ransomware is devastating only when victims have no backups. Maintain offline immutable backups and test them frequently. Firewalls block unwanted traffic. IDS tools detect suspicious behavior. Together, they form a strong defensive layer. Breaches happen. What matters is how quickly you respond. A well-designed incident response plan reduces damage and speeds recovery. The digital world is interconnected. One weak device can compromise an entire network. One careless click can expose thousands of users. One unpatched server can lead to a global breach. Cybersecurity is not the job of IT teams alone. It is a shared responsibility. Whether you are a student, a professional, a business owner, or a casual user, your actions matter. Your awareness matters. Your decisions matter. And your knowledge, especially the knowledge you've gained in this module, matters more than you realize. You now understand the foundations of the internet. You understand how attackers think. You understand how systems fail. And you understand how to defend yourself and others. This is your power. Use it wisely. If this module opened your eyes to the hidden world behind every click, then imagine what the next modules will unlock. Cybersecurity is a journey, and you've just taken a major step forward. Encourage your viewers to subscribe to Knowitrix for more deep dive cybersecurity lessons. Share this video with friends, colleagues, and students. Comment with questions, topics, or real-world scenarios they want explained. Continue learning, practicing, and strengthening their digital defenses. Tell them that every share spreads awareness. Every like boosts visibility. Every comment builds community. And every new subscriber strengthens the mission of making cybersecurity knowledge accessible to everyone.